Reddit, what is the biggest thing someone has ever spoiled for you? Who my real birth mother was. I was in one of those messed up family situations where a young teen girl gets pregnant and the parents decide to raise the baby as their own. I was that baby. Apparently, it was a well-kept secret in my family, despite almost everyone aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, etc. knowing about it. On my 14th birthday, my drunk uncle figured it was time I find out my 27-year-old sister was my real mom. At first I was peeved because it seemed like everyone had kept something incredibly important from me and lied to me all these years. Got over it pretty quickly, since I felt my mom, who is actually my grandmother, was my real mom. Same thing goes for dad. I am now 25 and I still have no idea who my real birth father is. I ain't even mad. TL. DR. Drunkle thought it would be fun to tell me I'm really Jack Nicholson on my 14th birthday. Drunkle is my new favorite word. My friend in high school saw that I was reading Ender's Game and proceeded to tell me the big twist at the end. When I asked him why the frick he just ruined the end for me, he said, "Oh, it was totally predictable." I'm not gonna lie, I had no clue. Frick him. My wife and I tried not to find out about the gender of our second child, and the ultrasound tech kept saying she, or he in the most obvious way possible. We really should have a word that implies both he and she. A certain event in A Storm of Swords from the Song of Ice and Fire aka Game of Thrones books. People who have read the books will know what it is without having to say anything else about it. Ah yes, that moment, when we all learn to hate. My ex-girlfriend would make me watch random movies with her, but she would tell me the whole plot line, plot twists, and the conclusion of the movie within the first 10 minutes of it. Oh lord, I could never handle that. Christ, I get angry enough when I'm watching a movie with someone who's already seen it and they say you'll see that this guy here is blah 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 and later on he'll STFU. Let me watch and absorb the movie and when it's done, then we can discuss all of it. I didn't see The Sixth Sense until a few months after it came out. Everyone was talking about it, but I would leave the room when the subject came up because it was obvious there was some big spoiler. Heck, I had to leave parties so I wouldn't hear what the big gotcha was. I made it 7 weeks and then was finally able to go see the movie. I was pretty psyched. Everybody had been talking about it and about how good it was. Just as the lights were dimming, a stranger sitting 2 seats down in the half-empty theater leans over and says, "I can't believe Bruce Willis was dead the whole time." I would have flipped out on him, loudly. One Christmas Eve many years ago, came downstairs unable to sleep, found my mum and dad playing my PlayStation 1. Granted, I knew I was getting it and did a little frick yay, but still. I think that's actually hilarious. You've still got a surprise and a PlayStation and your parents could actually play it with you. Mine wouldn't even be able to figure out how to put a game in it. My best friend told me my boyfriend had a ring on him and was proposing to me a 15 minutes before he did it. I was pissed at her. I was surprised, but would have liked to be uber surprised since I had no idea till she said something. Lost. It had ended, but I was watching it on DVD. I told my co-worker that I just finished second to last season and was really looking forward to seeing how it all ended, and that I was going to watch it in the coming week. She said, "Oh, yeah, my husband and I watched that series but we finished it and moved on to Stargate." It turns out that, and here she tells me exactly how it ends. Really? I just got finished telling you I was all excited to see how it ended, and that I was going to watch it immediately. There's a very good chance what she told you was wrong. A lot of people misunderstood the ending. That my boyfriend of 4 years was going to propose. His mother texted me asking what size ring I wear to see if a high school ring would fit me. There was some minor red flags going off in my head of just how weird this request was. She never gave me a ring or even mentioned it again. She's never given me anything of hers before, and it was an out of the blue text because I hardly ever talked to her on the phone or text. I asked him about it and he proposed right there, just us alone. Then told me to keep this a secret and act surprised when he does it front of our family. We've been engaged a year now though. To be fair, it's kinda difficult to know. I did it by taking her ring shopping one day and to try on some of the rings because she was kinda sad at the time. I figured I could kill two birds with one stone here, learn the ring size and make her forget about all the bad things. I proposed 5 months later, so she was definitely surprised. I actually spoiled Christmas for myself 1 year. By age 13, I was a clever boy. I had mastered the art of removing scotch tape from Christmas presents without leaving any evidence. So when I discovered Zelda, Link to the Past under the tree, I did what I think any of us would have done in similar circumstances. I swapped that bee out with a Pilot Wings cartridge. That was 2 weeks before Christmas. By the time I opened the gift, I had already beaten the game and was well on my way toward a 100% completion run. I had to fake enthusiasm for something my mother knew I really wanted, and I felt freaking awful for it. I never did get 100% completion, and the last time I fired it up in an emulator I felt enough of a twinge of that old guilt that I couldn't bring myself to play for very long. So I guess I actually spoiled that game for myself, too. Little kid guilt is the worst. When I was like 5, I got mad because my mom bought me the wrong toothbrush. I still feel bad. Mom, how was school? Sister, age 11. Good. We started reading Where the Red Fern Grows and I really like it. Mom, oh, isn't that the book where the dogs die at the end? Sister, what? Sobs? Dang it, old Dan, why did you have to die? I accidentally read on Reddit that a certain character dies in The Sopranos. I'm in season 5 and it still hasn't happened. Now all I do is wait for it. Don't stop believing. Georgia Curtis. My sister got mad at me one day and blurted out Santa isn't real. Mom and dad just dress up and put out all of our presents. When she saw the look on my face, she realized what she had done and tried to take it back, but it was too late. My youthful innocence bade farewell that day. In general, I don't like that I, and everyone around my age for that matter, grew up knowing that Darth Vader is Luke's father. I really wish I could have been one of the first people to see The Empire Strikes Back when it first came out and bask in the unexpectedness and surprise of it all. Reading Harry Potter when I was 15. A few days after Order of the Phoenix came out, and this really annoying girl who was older than me sees me reading it, clearly not even halfway through, and says, "Have you got to the part where Sirius dies yet?" Over the summer, my friend was at a summer camp called CTY, Center for Talented Youth. It's basically a nerd camp. That summer, however, The Half-Blood Prince was coming out. CTY is a sleepaway camp, and it's very hard to hear much from the outside world for the 3 weeks that you're there. Obviously, if you have a bunch of nerds together, they are going to want to get their hands on the new Harry Potter book. To deter this, the counselors thought of a brilliant plan. In the dining hall, there's a giant blackboard. Before all the kids filed in for dinner, they wrote the following sentence: "Snape kills Dumbledore." Oh, the screams were heard for miles. That is seriously cold. For Christmas once, when I was a kid, all my sister and I got were pamphlets and brochures and the promise of Disney World. We were so excited. Then, instead, my parents got divorced. Mom, sister and I moved in with grandma and my mom had to spend the money on a car. It was terrible. Sixth Sense was ruined by my teacher in high school. It was still before DVD, we're watching it in VHS format. She played the movie from the halfway point because she didn't want to rewind it. Then when the movie ended and it auto rewound, she played it from the beginning. So I knew from the beginning that Bruce Willis was a ghost. Eat a dong, Miss Frank, you technologically inept C. The same friend accidentally ruined both Dumbledore and Sirius Black's deaths, like less than a day before I would have gotten to them in the books myself. How I managed to forgive him for that double whammy, I'll never know. My friend spoiled all the M. Night Shyamalan movies before I got a chance to see any of them. The weird thing is that he hadn't seen them either, he just guessed right all the plot twists on his own. Scrubs spoiled The Sixth Sense for me. I was on vacation one time with my family, and the 5th Harry Potter book had just come out. I hadn't even started reading it yet, but my uncle had a copy of it and I didn't see him put it down once when he had free time. He was laying on a bed and me and my cousins went in to bug him, and we ended up reading over his shoulder, and I wish I was freaking kidding. The very first goddamn sentence I read was Sirius was dead. If you look in the Harry Potter hardback, I believe it was like 3/4s of the way down a page. It's not even like it was the first sentence on a page. I picked one sentence out of like 40 that were visible on the 2 pages, and read the only one that could have possibly spoiled anything. TLDR. I'm such a piece of crap, I spoiled it for myself by reading 3 words. My friends started talking about Fight Club, not realizing I had never seen it. Before I could warn them, they told me that, well, you know, if anyone reading this is lame enough to have not watched it, go do it now. You don't talk about Fight Club. I found out my best friend's girlfriend was cheating on him. Little did he know that I also knew that he was doing the same, and funnily enough I knew the people they were cheating with as well. So as any one friend in their right mind would do, I only invited the 4 of them over for drinks, making them believe it was going to be a big party. Hilarity ensued. Someone told me that Jesus dies in the Bible while I was only in Leviticus. Now it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. The Dark Knight Rises. Imagine, I had been looking forward to this movie for well over a year. For any young male adult, Batman is the man. I had religiously avoided message boards, IMDb, and all other sorts of evil internet information in order to not have this glorious cinematic masterpiece ruined for me. Pre-ordered IMAX tickets, mentally pre-gamed, made plans with all my friends to see it together. Fast forward, I'm sitting in between my best friend and my girlfriend. I am literally giddy with excitement. The movie begins. Batman's new hot rich corporate love fling shows up. My friend leans over and tells me that's Ra's al Ghul's daughter. Movie ruined. I think being a Batman fan and having read a few comics ruined that move for me. When it got to the part where they talked about the child of Ra's al Ghul, I knew it was Talia and that she would be Miranda. It just made the most sense at that point in the movie, as I knew Bane definitely wasn't. I wish I wasn't a casual comic fan so I could have been completely blown away at the twist. My sister told my mom I was gay the day before I was going to tell her. My mom now believes I didn't trust her enough and would have kept it hidden. Funny part was when I showed up to tell her and she had a buzz on and kept ranting about her lesbian years. Apparently Auntie Leonora wasn't just my mom's roommate. Family bonding at its best. This reminds me when back in high school, one of our English teachers was assigning us some paper to write about a childhood memory or something. He gave the example of finding out there was no Santa Claus. I immediately looked at him and said what in a shocked, tearful voice. The look on his face was priceless. He thought he just broke it to a high schooler that there was no Santa. Anyway, it's funny because Santa is actually real. My best friend in middle school asked me if I'd read The Hunger Games, and wanting to be cool and hip I was all hell yeah I did, even though I'd only gotten through about 20 pages of the book at that point. Then she proceeded to say, "Good, watch this," and scream to the entire cafeteria, "Katniss dies." A couple people glared at her, but surprisingly enough most people didn't even bat an eye. I laughed with her, but on the inside I was like, frick, the ending's been ruined. What's the use in even reading the book now? So I didn't. It wasn't until about a couple days ago, 5 years later, when I told my friend this story, she responded, "Katniss doesn't die." That was the biggest mind frick false spoiler I've ever experienced. I don't even think I know what's reality anymore. TLDR. I still haven't finished The Hunger Games. I was spoiled twice reading your comment. I don't know which spoiler is worse. When we were dating, I got my wife on the airplane, onto the shuttle van, and halfway across Los Angeles without her figuring out where we were going. The fact that it was an early flight helped. She'd fallen asleep in the shuttle van. I figured things would be blown when we got into the van, but she'd kept her eyes averted. Then, when she fell asleep, I thought we might make it all the way to the hotel. Unfortunately, the van jostled and she woke up and looked straight at the sign that said, "Disneyland, this exit." My wife is a huge animation fan, and I'd managed to score 2 passes to the premiere of The Iron Giant. The premiere was several days before the movie was to open, a pre-screening for the newspapers. The screening wasn't even on the marquee, so I got her all the way into the theater and into line without her having a clue what movie was showing. As we're standing in line, not at the end, not at the beginning, just in the middle of the line, someone approached me and we had the following conversation. Him, "Excuse me, but is this the line?" Me, Emphatic yes. Him. But is this the line for me? Louder yes. It is. Him. No. Is this the line for the Iron Giant? Wife. Gasp cheer. Me. Fassapum. Him. Oh. No. I'm sorry. Yes. We were dating in 1999. Yes. I'm old. I've got bugs logged against me old enough to drive and a grey hair for each. I once thought that an eagle almost carried away a small child. The internet refused to allow me to live in my own ignorance. My husband and I decided not to find out the gender of our child until it was born, to have that classic "it's a" moment in the delivery room. I had painstakingly designed a neutral nursery and bought all neutral clothing. Then, at 5 months pregnant, I went to an anatomy scan and the ultrasound technician started labeling the different parts of the baby's body on her computer, which was displaying on a huge projection screen on the wall. I almost cried when I saw her type out the word scrotum. My mum had planned on not finding out my gender too, until she went for her second scan and the woman doing the scan blurted out, "Well, she's got a very strong heart." My mum went home and told my dad I was a boy for the next few months because he really wanted a girl. It wasn't until she was just about to give birth that she told him I was a girl. My girlfriend ruined the entirety of Shutter Island for me, but it was a complete accident. Frick it. I can't seem to win with any of you. Spoiler. In middle school. Oh, you are going to see Sixth Sense tonight? I knew Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Frick you, John Layman. I can't see Game of Thrones live, so I have downloaded the 9th episode Bela and I was going to watch it as soon as I got home. My mistake was to Google edit during the day because dang autocomplete spoiled the episode for me. That was the chapter that made me buy the books. A very good friend of mine trolling. Dude, watch the first season of 24. You'll never guess Tony Almeida's the mole. Stupid me with another friend. Frick. This guy spoiled me 24 by telling me who the mole is. The other friend. He told you it was Nina Meyers. Frick me. My mom, a single parent, quit hosting attending celebrations of any kind when I was 10 years old. So now when most people are all excited about parties and presents, I could give zero fricks. This includes birthdays, Christmas, graduations, etc. Anytime a gift is exchanged or cake is consumed, you will find my mother nowhere near. I've pretty much adopted this same spirit for celebration as a result. Spoilers about Dexter. If anyone hasn't gotten this far yet, some douche on Twitter who I follow spoiled that Rita died at the end of season 4 of Dexter. Ugh. I had to hold that one the entire season so I wouldn't ruin it for the people I was watching it with. When the Packers beat New England in Favre's only championship with the team, I was living in Milwaukee and had to drive down to the northern suburbs of Chicago for work. Low man on totem pole, not a Wisconsin native. Job fell to me. The game was probably around halftime when I picked the guy up at the train station, and the first thing I said when he got in the car was, "Please don't tell me anything about the game." He was a Rams fan but went along with it, although he had been hoping to listen on the radio. Made it all the way back to Milwaukee, dropped him off, drove home, had to make a detour around Water Street because I knew that the outcome would be very apparent down there, sprinted up 3 flights of stairs to my apartment, and as I was putting the key in the lock 2 guys came down the stairs and one of them shook me by the shoulders and went, "Frick yeah." That data dies. Spoiler, in Star Trek, Nemesis. This was months before the movie came out, and our friend had been reading spoilers online and just blurted it out. We almost killed him. You may already know this, but in the comic set just before the 2009 reboot, called Countdown, Data is seen as the captain of the Enterprise after having fully imprinting in neural nets into B4. It's how I sleep at night. I started watching Twin Peaks for the first time mid last year, and tweeted that I was doing so. At the exact same time, some girl who I had never heard of decided to search Twitter for any mention of Twin Peaks and spoil who the murderer is simply because she didn't like the show. I got her tweet 10 minutes into the first episode. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.